Thank you, Okky. You made me sound very professional. Thank you for that. Um, but yeah, thank you again, Panya, for your time. Sadly, I really didn't prepare a presentation, but I do have some photos that I will share a bit on that I'll be using to elaborate a bit on, I guess, Arka itself. So before I share the photos, I just want to explain a bit about Arkademy itself. Arkademy is basically the educational wing of Arka project. Arka project itself, it's basically a collective of photographers, documentary photographers. From that, we have Muhammad Fadli, Yopi Peter, and Putu Sayoga. And we're quite close to them, and we were talking with them, especially with Yopi, during a session in a car one day, and we're like, hey, I think we need some kind of, I guess, photographic education initiative that's slightly different from what we have now. And hence, I'll explain what the difference is, but from there was 2018. That's when Arkademy was born, basically, and in the back of a car. So from there, we started asking ourselves, like, what's actually going on in our photographic education today in Indonesia? I think our main critique was that many of the aspects in photographic education in Indonesia was mainly situated and focused on technical aspects, which again, it's needed, of course, when you're starting something, especially when you're focusing on photography. You know, the technical aspects, the shutter, the camera itself, and so on and so on. I think there's lots of photographic education that focuses on that. And we wanted to go more on discussing about areas on how photography has basically influenced our society, or the aspects within a photo itself, and how to discuss the issues of within certain photos of a series of photos. That's where we basically wanted to bring our photographic education towards too. Hence, my background is slightly in photography, documentary photography, but I'm more heavily oriented towards sociology and education, especially the intersection between the two. And although I've had a number of experiences, such as with Angkor, thank you, Jessica, for that. And I guess that's where I was quite influenced on thinking a more different approach towards how photography itself can be educated in our society. So I want to start from there a bit, and I'm going to share my photos from there. So let me just share my screen a bit. Hi, can everyone see? Yep. So again, like we said, we wanted to basically take photography education in a slightly different direction. Again, we're not saying that technical issues are not important. Yes, they are important when, I guess, learning a new craft, when learning about photography, but we consider that there's a bit too much on that, and we wanted to see and understand on the ideas of storytelling and story making, and also perhaps on what, looking at how photography has become so democratized in our society these days. What does it mean to look at a photograph? Does photography itself, or a certain photograph, or a body of work, still have a great impact in our society, let's say, compared to the 20th century? And that's where our, I guess, social justice, political aspect comes in as well in our education in photography. And I can't really deny this. So I think there's this, I guess, social justice bent of our photographic education, and that's where we basically want to take, or actually some of us want to take the workshops that we conduct in Arkademy itself. Aside from that, we also want to construct an ecosystem of photography that goes beyond the technical aspects of photography itself. So we really want to not just educate photographers in becoming photographers, but we also we want to educate people in, let's say, still within the lines of photography, but also understanding and also engaging in other aspects other than becoming a photographer. Let's say a curator, or let's say, I guess, an educator in photography, or any other aspects, but still within the realm of photography. That being said, we consider that there's a bit too much of people wanting to be a photographer rather than becoming other aspects in the photographic scene in Indonesia, which is also important to support photographers as well. So again, from there, we then started asking questions on what can we actually do with photography these days. So, yeah, one of the workshops that we did last year, which was really interesting as well, is that we did a collaboration with NGOs. One of them was with World Resources Institute, Indonesia. The issue was photography as a medium, not merely as an end goal, but as a medium to understand, to help people understand land issues or social issues around them. In this photo, we tried more of a I guess decolonizing methodology to basically help them understand aspects of colonization in relationship with land issues at that time. So again, the main goal within this particular workshop was not particularly just about photography as the end goal, let's say constructing photo essays, but it was more also about having them understand issues around them through the medium of photography, which I guess is one thing that we're trying to push in our workshop, because we understand that photography has become so ubiquitous, so common in our everyday lives, but we don't necessarily start asking the questions on what is the role of photography in helping us understand the issues around us, basically. So then we have workshops, and I'm just going to go slightly fast on this. But aside from workshops, before I go into, we have the typical photo essay workshops where basically they take photos and they construct photo essays. We have Yopi Peter and Muhammad Fadli here. But we also have this particular workshop that my team are quite particularly proud of. It's called Wacana. Wacana stands for Workshop Analisa Citra dan Makna, which basically translates into, I don't know what that translates into, to be honest. That translates into, what is it? Analyzing photography, basically analyzing the visual aspects of photography, I guess. I'm sorry. And interpretation. I think my wife is doing a better job at me than me, basically. So we're trying to basically understand the content within a photograph or a series of photographs, and how we can understand not just the photographs itself from the visual aspects, from the aesthetic aspects, but also from, I guess, the social aspects as well. And we usually do this from racial issues through social class issues and also through gender issues. And it's very interesting to discuss about those issues. Again, it's about, the end goal is about discussing those issues through the medium of photography. So photography itself is not necessarily the end goal, but it's about understanding and discussing those issues through the medium of photography. I think Arkademy is quite young. We've been doing this only for like 2 years. And I think it just shows how versatile and flexible the medium photography is. It's like, we always see that photography as just an end towards something, but I mean, again, this is, for us, it's more of a medium towards something else, which in our case, it's about, I guess, social justice issues, which is, again, quite interesting in itself. So again, our focus is in photography, but again, it's more about the medium itself rather than, the medium, the photography as the medium towards something else rather than photography as just the end goal itself. So there's Rara, there's Yopi and Fadli, I guess trying to look smart. This is our other mentor. I think I actually forgot to introduce you to our mentors, because actually we have only 5. This is Kurnia Dewi Dodo. I think he's online as well here. Say hi if you are. And other than our workshops, we also found another thing that's interesting during our 2 years of doing workshops, and that is exhibitions. And this this particular exhibition was a result of the land issue workshop in collaboration with the NGO, the World Resources Institute in Indonesia, that we worked with last year. So again, the workshop and the exhibition focused on land issues, but we wanted to use exhibition as a space for education as well. Is it possible? Is it not possible? If it is possible, what is needed in order to have these spaces as an opportunity in education? That was what we were trying to explore in an exhibition. Some exhibitions can be rather dull. Some exhibitions that I feel that I didn't really learn anything from there. Some exhibitions focuses merely on aesthetics, which I have no problem with. But again, here, can we use photography exhibitions as a medium to engage, I guess, the onlookers on something more, especially in this case, land issues and social issues around them. So there we basically found that it's also about how photographs are being presented, and as well as how the artists themselves share the photographs, and how the photographs itself is being displayed as well. So it was really interesting to explore. And sadly, I mean, because again, this is quite a high budget, and thankfully we had money from the NGO, and of course we won't be doing this every month or so because of the opportunities presented. But it was a really interesting experience to understand the role of photography exhibition as a place, or as an opportunity, a space and time for education itself. So workshops are wonderful because there's this like one-on-one interaction, and you have this intimate session with them. But again, it's hard to do workshops when you're, let's say, having like 50 participants. I mean, I guess like 10 or 15 is quite the limit. So how do you engage more people towards social issues around you through the medium photography? And this was our experiment in using exhibition as the medium. So the response was quite interesting, and I think not just interesting, but we were quite proud of our first and hopefully not the last exhibition here, because many people who came to our exhibition felt not just, I guess, intellectually engaged with the social issues that was presented in the exhibition, but also emotionally engaged as well. And I think this is where the power of photography lies in, where photography basically evokes you through emotions. Then from there you can instill some form of, I guess, knowledge or intellectual knowledge, which which needs other forms of aspects other than just visual means, such as photography. So yeah, it was quite mind-opening, I guess, experience for us. And the exhibition itself, because of time constraints and money, of course, only lasted a week, sadly. Hopefully we can do a much longer exhibition in the future. But I think because of that short time as well, people started coming in droves, because they knew that the time was quite limited. So it was slightly hard to manage as well when doing those exhibition tours, where we wanted to limit like just only 20 or 30 people, but then 60 or sometimes even 70 people started coming in, which was actually quite hard for us to do as well. So I guess that's one reflection that we wanted to take note. But again, I don't know if I've talked a bit too much, but before we continue to the next presenter, I just want to, I guess, leave you with one note from Arkademy, which, let me just share one more screen, which is our website here, on maintaining communities. I was talking with, I think, I don't know if many of you know, I think maybe Zhuang Wubin last year, he was doing a workshop on curatorial workshop with Panya last year. And when we were talking about community, we were thinking about, if you want to build a community, there's always this perception, if you want to build a community, you need some kind of space, right? And of course, we didn't have the money to, construct our own perhaps gallery or have a communal space. So he suggested a different kind of space, which of course is also a space, a digital space, or I guess web space, so like this. And that's why this website of ours is actually quite new. We launched like a couple of weeks ago as a space for community building. And this website itself is not just about us, as in the mentors, or about our workshops, but there's this section called Wicara, which basically we invite our, I guess, fellow alumni from whoever went through our workshops to basically share their opinions or their thoughts about whatever photo essays that they constructed, or whatever photograph that they've seen recently, and basically share what they've I guess seen or understood from these photographs. So it's about also trying to engage people outside Arkademy to share what their views are on their relationship with photography, which again isn't really discussed much in Indonesia due to the, I guess, limited understanding that photography is just a technical aspect, which through Wicara and also through our workshops and also through our exhibitions, we wanted to go beyond photography, beyond as a technical aspect. These are our mentors. Hopefully everyone can see. We have the bald person is Muhammad Fadli. He just released a really good story on the COVID crisis in Indonesia. We have Kurniadi Widodo. He's also a mentor and educator based in Yogyakarta. That's Rara Sekar, anthropologist, focusing on visual aspects as well, visual anthropology. There's me, basically just talking, sometimes sharing stuff. And there's also Yopi Peter at the end, also a photographer. So yes, most of us have somewhat of a experience in photography, but not all of us are photographers. Basically, only 2 of us are full-time documentary photographers. And I guess that's what also makes Arkademy different compared to other photography education collectives. It's not just about a collective of photographers, but it's also like an intersection between all forms of discipline, which hopefully can bring discussions on photography to a new front. So I guess that's my time. I guess I hope I didn't take too much time, hopefully. But yeah, that's all from me. I hope that was clear enough, but would definitely love to talk more later on with everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Actually, you still have a lot of time, actually.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, no, but it's very, it's not only interesting, but it's very also inspiring and quite provoking, actually, because, talking about, I mean, there's a lot of, from your presentation, we can see that it's also encouraged the dialogue and exchange and engagement, and also participation as well with the audience and the public, and most importantly, not only for the photographers. And you mentioned also, but you want to educate the society as well. So it is very challenging, but also it's very interesting. And all your mentors come from multidisciplinary, which is enrich not only the participants, but talking about technical aspect of photography. Yep. So thank you, Ben. We'll talk about that later. And also we will have after presentation from our 3 guest speakers, we will have a Q&A session. And during the meantime, if you have a question, you can write on the chat room. It will send directly to the host, and then I will read your question if you have any questions. So feel free. After that, you can raise. There's a button, raise hand, so you can if you have any question during the Q&A session. So okay, thank you, Ben.